Welcome to the Leverage Your Influence podcast, where we talk to amazing people about how they're leveraging their influence, impact, and income through podcasting and entrepreneurship. On today, we sit down with Dominic Licata. He is a Marine Corps veteran. He is now an entrepreneur and podcaster. We're excited about the fact that he is now on the battlefield of inspiring other people to become financially prosperous and also spiritually prosperous through faith. And so we welcome to the show, Mr. Dominique. How are you doing today?
Good, sir. How are you? It's
Doing
an honor.
wonderful.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on this. I really am. I've been thinking about it for the last 4 days since we talked about it and just making sure that I'm prepared. Calling my guy up at the last minute to make sure I can get some studio time so it sounds crisp and clear for everybody. But all of these things were important, and I'm going to take full advantage of this to really kind of put out there what I'm doing.
Yes, sir. You look good and you sound good, and we're glad you are joining us from Michigan. I'm here in Virginia, but we're grateful for the technology that connects us. And so, as a former Marine who pivoted into civilianship, what was the biggest hurdle or challenge for you to make that transition from the military and the Marines to pivoting to being a regular person again?
Right. I think the biggest challenge was embracing the civilian community more than anything else. It's really easy to transition and be super motivated and want to make money because, let's face it, the military doesn't pay us a lot, right? We could think twice a month, barely. But we do have food and shelter, and we do have clothes on our back, whether if you want to wear those fatigues or not, whatever you call them these days. But I think that thinking that everybody had the same mindset, whether it was camaraderie or drive or organization or timeliness, right? Like that was a big one for me when I first came out. I'm always 15 minutes early because if you're not 15 minutes, you're late,
Yeah.
right? What I've been told. So now I believe it. I believe that to be true. So when people would show up 5 minutes late, I would lose my mind. Whether it was I was a team member or I was a leader on the team, it didn't matter. It was really hard for me to figure that out. And then setting expectations and then coaching and taking the look at what they've produced and then trying to reset expectations to get nowhere time and time over and over again. And I know you see those things in the military sometimes, but most of us who get to a certain point or a certain level all have those types of characteristics, whether they're leadership or just understanding how to be a good Indian. You don't always have to be the chief.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you mentioned you don't get paid a lot in the military, but you do have some benefits and some things that provide a level of, stability. And so you mentioned the mindset in the military, being on time, staying true to the mission. How did some of these things spill over into your routine when you became a podcaster? And then what
I,
crazy thing came over you to decide to want a podcast?
yeah, I wish some of those characteristics had transferred over to the podcast world a little bit better. I know. So normally, since the day I got out of the military back in 2003, I've been in the mortgage industry in some way, shape, or form, some type of some role. And what I found is in that world, just punctuality, have hitting deadlines, um, honor, integrity. I mean, all of those things really sit well. So I just took the things that I learned in the Marine Corps and then implemented them on a day-to-day basis, waking up on time, making sure I'm physically taking care of myself, making sure that I've got a direct mission for that day so that I can check off boxes. And what I found and this is where it got crazy, is that I was outworking a lot of the civilian people. So at what percentage should I have to work at? And when you find out it's pretty close to like 30 or 40%, it's tough, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I could work so much faster. I can get so much more done. But to get into podcasting, I'd met Adam Bird, who's in charge of Heroes Media Group.
Yeah.
If you guys all don't know
Shout
him,
out to Adam Bird.
he's amazing. I mean, he's more of he's so good at what he does from a podcasting standpoint and the message that he delivers and finding talent, but he's also really good at motivating, right? Like when you're slightly off your game or when you're behind on something, which I found myself for one reason or another before, back in 2019 when I tried to start a podcast. It was 360 Financial. It was held on his platform. The reason why I wasn't as successful is I just didn't believe in myself, right? I didn't think that I
Wow.
was ready for it. I was holding myself back. And when we talked about faith, my faith was what brought me back to God and allowed me to just give things like my anxiety, my fears, the things that I had done wrong that I held against myself. I was able to give those back to God, and now I don't worry about them. I really, truly, honestly don't. Why? Because I have another mission, and that mission is to try to find a way to help as many veterans as I can from in that transition process, whether it's finding a job when you get out, whether it's finding some type of counseling if you don't know how to file for disability. And I don't have all of those pieces worked out completely in its entirety, but I have people that want to do them in each one, and we're just getting started. So figured the more people that I can get in front of, the more support I can get along the way, as along with trying to identify the people that need help. Like I just received a phone call, or actually said I got a text message last week from a gentleman who I talked to his daughter at a restaurant over in Scottsdale last week, or 2 weeks ago. And I reached back out to him while I was on my way here, and he has a problem with his long-term disability. He hasn't filed for his actual VA disability, right? Like the full one.
Yeah.
And I said, look, just send me your information over. I know I have somebody that's going to at least communicate with you where he feels like he's being ghosted by the individual who's trying to help him. I don't know who that is. I don't know anything about it, but I said, at least get some answers,
Yeah.
get some clarity. So that's what it takes. It's like what support groups do you have, and what do you want to really focus on, in one way, shape, or form. So he was telling me that he's having a hard time with his wife, and that they're filing for a divorce. And you know, being a man of faith, I always tell myself, even when I think that maybe is what God wants, he doesn't contradict himself. He does not say, be with your, basically till death do you part, uh, and then say, well, unless this, right? There's no contradiction there. So even when my wife and I have those hard times, and I start to think, well, maybe it's better if we're not together, I remember that he does not contradict himself. So there's no way he would put us together and then for us to be apart. That takes care of that anxiety and that anger, frustration that comes along with it. That now I'm able to put myself on a platform where I can provide support. It was the first step.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, you mentioned Adam Bird and how he helped you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we want to give a shout out to Adam Bird. He has the Heroes Media Group that he operates, and they help veterans literally podcast and market and do all the things from A to Z. And how valuable do you think it is to have someone who is on your side helping you towards your podcasting goals? Or do you think it's better to do it all alone?
No, it's you like unless you have a background in broadcasting and understand how all these things work and have a great social media presence, and that you're just trying to implement this as part of what you do, uh, I'm missing out on so much. I'm starting to see it over the past, I don't know, how long has it been since I joined our team? About a month now.
Yeah.
So about a month, right? So I did a short stint of podcasting back in 2018, 19. I think it was mostly just there was nothing on camera, sound quality, But Adam was really encouraging me. I think I had a great message that I was trying to get out, and I was trying to find a different platform to put it on. Since that didn't work out, this one I've utilized a lot of different resources, and now I've gotten to a point where all I want to do is podcast,
Nice.
right? Why? Because it's scalable. It's very easy for me to put information in a platform somewhere to where somebody can go back and listen to it again, right? Because if I have to say the same thing over and over and over again, 50 to 100 times, I'm losing that much time in order to be able to step onto the next level and the next platform of what we're able to do and identify those individuals that are willing to help us.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So,
But it's crucial. I was flat out. It is. I wouldn't be able to do. I wouldn't be where I'm at, and I wouldn't have the goals and drive, and I might have fizzled out by now.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah. Most podcasters, many fizzle out between episodes 7 and 10, and then they just ghost and don't show up again. So, having that support,
ironically,
yeah,
ironically, we've recorded 10 episodes, so I have to record that 11th one just to get past that,
let's
right?
go.
So,
Let's go.
so I'm sitting here, and I think I'm gonna have to do one, just even if it's solo. And I've never really thought about doing one solo, right?
Yeah,
I've always had somebody on my podcast before, but as we move into this into season two and wrap up season one, to have that consistency, which I think is crucial, right? That's if you don't have consistency in your message coming out at a specific time and date, you're going to be forgotten very quickly, right? And then
yeah,
you have to go back and retrace those steps in order to bring somebody back in. And there's going to be a reluctancy for some, but I mean, it's probably a very small group, but you need those people because those are typically your grassroots internal people because you told them, hey, make sure you sign up for my podcast verbally, and they've done it. So you need them to help launch when everything kind of rolls out. And that's the level, that's the step that I'm at right now.
Yeah, yeah. So for the Faith, Valor, and Growth podcast, which you co-host, you have a partner. And so what advice would you give to someone? Are you podcasting solo now, or you have a partner now?
I'm podcasting solo now.
Okay. So for someone who's trying to launch a podcast from the perspective of a veteran, and they want to podcast about military life, what advice or how would you steer them if they feel they want to pass it forward to others who are coming behind and to help their former self? Would you advise them to steer away from those topics, or to just passionate podcast about whatever they're passionate about?
It really just depends on what they're comfortable with, right? Whether it's, some people are not in a position mentally or spiritually in order to give back at that level. What I find is that as I continue to grow in my faith, I'm able to do more because I ask for a foundation to be able to give me more so that I can give back more. What I see is like sometimes people need podcasts as a release. This isn't just an informative piece all the time. Sometimes people are looking for some type of entertainment, something that their interests are, and that's where I think you can find a lot of benefit in self-healing as well. I'm just at a point where my benefit in self-healing is to get back, and I want to get as back as I can.
Yeah. So when it comes to podcasting and choosing what topics to address, you mentioned you have a relationship with God and you pray about it. Do you ever feel the need to deal with a topic that's controversial that you may want to tackle? How do you choose? How do you choose what shows to? I mean, do you go to Chat GPT? I'm trying to figure out a workflow.
Yeah,
like, how do you crank out content consistently without running out of things to say?
Well, I've noticed at this point, I've got a lot of people reaching out to me. So then I'm trying to find a way to delineate what's going to work best. And from a growth standpoint, there's going to be different people that I want to introduce to the platform because they're going to provide some level of support and they're going to be some type of contact or resource. As long as they're informative in the area of what we're trying to do and they align, I know that God's going to give me the right people. It's really easy to see. There's people that I want and I've asked to be on my podcast, but I don't think that they're ready. So when they are ready, I'm sure they'll come in right at the perfect time. I've got two people that I'm very specific on having on number 12 and 13, and both of them are part of groups that they've created that assist veterans with homelessness. So that I know, which is where the new I wouldn't say the new focus, but originally it was, hey, come to our podcast. We're going to teach you how to make a lot of money using your VA home loan. Sounds great, but we're going to tackle a bigger problem with it. We know there's a lot of homeless veterans out there, and there's a way to do this. And I think I've got a schematics and a game plan that really do work. I've been in the mortgage industry for 20 years, so I know how financing works. I know what we're eligible for. I mean, we can buy a 4-unit property without any money down, but there are caveats to it. You have to be able to set it up the right way.
Yeah.
And I've done that. So at this point, I feel like those that want to get into this program, whether you're ETSing out or you're a veteran just kind of looking for some direction, drive, some type of, a new career, you can get into property management, you can do some real estate development. And then that's going to do is that's going to get you to oversee that 4-unit that you purchased while we look for other veterans to put in there who want to be in the program. Now, not everybody that lives there has to be a veteran, but they better have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah.
I've seen people outside of the veteran community live in these type of facilities, and there's not a problem at all. There's respect, and there's a very structured way of living amongst all of them, even when all of them were homeless within the last 6 months.
Yeah. I love the fact that you have a passionate cause that has kind of become your North Star for everything that you do, whether it's through entrepreneurship, your podcasting. And there's a quote that I love to say that if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So what advice would you give to veterans about finding their niche, finding their North Star to pursue, and not just feel the need to talk to everybody or appeal to everybody?
Right. That just comes with your with your area of expertise. That's why on our podcast we want to focus on bringing people back to Christ and having faith, because once you're aligned with God, those things just come more a little more naturally. He's got to be the center of the universe. If he's not, it doesn't work. And I had to remember that a lot. There's a lot of times where, if I was fighting with my wife or if I was trying to build a business that it was more self-serving of like, I'm just making money here, uh, they would become more difficult and harder. But once I asked for that focus and clarity and that redirection through to have everything back through Christ, my world changed. It really did. So I feel like if we can bring veterans back that are feeling some type of lost way or need some direction or purpose, it's not me. I can only bring it back. He's the guy who's going to save you. That's
Mm,
that's the whole thing. Once you have that, once you believe in that, once you have faith in it, it's really easy to redirect and see where it happens. And those things just happen naturally at that point because A, you believe, you don't have the stress and anxiety, you're focused on all the right things, and then inevitably we're creating a bigger difference for everybody around us.
yeah, yeah. So when it comes to veterans and their journey, a lot of you all have a lot of experience. You have a lot of scars. You have a lot of trauma. How do you unpack to get to that level of clarity to where you know what your next step should be when it comes to living a life on purpose? And you mentioned
Yeah.
having a relationship with God, but what other steps could veterans take to kind of find their clarity in transition to still live out their purpose? Because a lot of folks feel like, man, my purpose is done. I've served and I'm done. So what is the hope
Well, there's still a
beyond?
purpose. You don't necessarily have to just give back to the veteran community, but whatever your passion is, right? There's so many different things that I feel like we're all missing out on that we just aren't educated or it's not brought to the forefront of what we do. We get so wrapped up in the garbage of everyday life that we're disconnected from like true fulfillment and true enlightenment. So if that brings your purpose back where you feel like you're something, and if you don't have that, then that's where we talk about seeking counseling. Like, why don't you have a fulfillment, like a fulfillment in yourself? Like, do you want that? Is that a strive for you, or is that just something that it is a dream or you don't care? I know that it's always something that I've thrived for, right? I didn't even know what it was when I first got out of the military. I think I did everything out of anger and spite
Mm,
from my trauma. And then finally, at some point, I started to identify when I was thinking of like, hey, I'm getting people into houses. This is pretty cool. I actually like what I like doing this. There was a different sense of purpose, and that direction started moving. So even when I don't want to say I failed, but I did. I I didn't complete the mission at that point in time. Maybe back on mission now, but back in 2019, when I had a lot of the same things going around my life that I do today, I didn't have Christ or God as the center of my universe. I had, oh yes, I'm helping a lot of veterans get jobs, or I'm helping a lot of people get jobs at that point. It wasn't even veterans at that time. And if I had I see it's actually been way harder this time, but it's been a lot easier. So if I look at like the things that have happened, those things are a lot more difficult this time around. But because I have God, I'm telling you, because I have God, it makes all of this easy. Where
wow.
before it was a disruption every time something would come in place because I was veering off that direction because my true compass wasn't pointing north.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, when it comes to leadership and legacy, how has your leadership style evolved since becoming a podcaster? And how have you grown as a person since you've been podcasting?
Um, I don't think I've really changed it much. I find that because of podcasting, I'm a little more vocal. I'm willing to say a lot more than I used to be able to say. I used to train a lot of account executives over at one of the big wholesale lenders here, and it would be 20 to 25 a month. So standing up in front of people has always been fairly easy, but to do it for Christ on such a large scale in order to try to find new ways to promote the podcast has been the biggest change. And I don't really know what leadership trait that would fall under. Maybe management, maybe or management of assets.
Hmm.
Um, that would probably be the only thing that I might have done a little bit differently because I see the importance of it at this point. And especially as I get older or as I, want to start sunsetting my career in the next few years, to spend time with my family because I see how important that is, right? I've got family that are in their 70s, late 70s and still working because they feel like they have to.
Hmm.
I'd rather them be comfortably at home or traveling on the road to see other family because those are the dawning years of their lives. And I've got children that I want them to spend time with. I think it's important. I mean, the sense of family is all part of God's purpose too. We've been so detached, and it's okay to get a divorce and having two families, and then those kids because they've had that separation are okay with going to school far away and not coming back at any point in time, right? I never want my kids to leave my house, so I'm stealing years by putting them in young fives instead of kindergarten early, just so that I can keep them home a little bit longer. So that would probably be it. The management of my time and the way that my assets are utilized in order to create a bigger world around me.
Yeah, that's powerful because if you think about it, the most valuable asset in life is time and not money. I mean, we all could lose a wad of money and eventually replace it. But once that time is gone, we can never get it back. And so thank you for emphasizing family and stewarding our time well with the time that we
Yeah,
have left.
I wouldn't be able to do this without my family. That's something that I've changed over the past couple of weeks. Is that my wife and I met at work and at United Wholesale Mortgage, and I proposed to her at the Thursday 3 o'clock dance party, and in front of the entire office, which is like 700 people. We had a lot of people from our office there, and we found that we work well together as long as we're not working on the same task. And if we're coexisting in two worlds, we're able to, not only have each other six, but we're also able to move the pendulum. So when someone can pick up where the other one lets down a little bit, or you can try to assist or feed each other business. And we've always done a good job with that. As long as we're working together and not doing the same thing, that could be pretty toxic for us. We're both too like, I mean, it would be an explosion. It would be really bad, right? So we don't do that. But we've learned that, right? And we've learned that on a lot of different projects, whether it's a fix and flip or writing loans together or finding, opportunities in the commercial space, which is more of what I've migrated to in the mortgage world, or support for the podcast. Ironically, so I'm sitting here with Asante over at Effigy Home Loans. So if you look at Faith Valor Growth, that is FVG, and the name of his studio is Effigy,
Nice.
EFFIGY, right? So when we were looking the day before we were supposed to record the first podcast, my wife found this individual, didn't think anything about it, and I came and met him, and it's been spot on since. I would never miss. I would prefer to be here. I know I'm gonna have to move to my office because I got to create a lot more content. I feel like I'm breaking up with him, but I told him he should come over anytime he wants. But those are the important things to me, right? That's how I know that this is all meant to be. This is how things fit together.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when it comes to partnering with your spouse for business and including your family in what you're doing and not just operating in a silo, I think there's a power with working together to accomplish, even if they're separate goals, but just working together, there's a powerful element of unity and also memories that can be made from doing that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know that the way that I have my marriage set up is, and this always comes across bad, but it's true. This is what it should be. The wife supports the husband. I'm on a mission. God is the center of attention, and then I take care of my wife. I do whatever she needs me to do in order to support her and what she wants. But my mission is bigger, and she respects that. And she's a very strong and very powerful woman. So I need that. I need somebody on that side that I can trust at that level. There's different levels of support with what people need. That's what I need. Some people might need something a little different. Somebody to stay home with the kids all the time, right? To cook and clean. I'm okay with those things. If I come home and the house is a little bit of a mess, I mean, I start to twitch out a little bit, but that OCD from the Marine Corps does kick in, trust me. But I've been able to overcome it because I love her. And I know that she's doing everything that she can, and I trust that she's doing everything that she can. Once you have that respect on each side, it changes things tremendously.
Yeah, yeah. And when it comes to balance with entrepreneurship, podcasting, how do you schedule the time intentionally to unplug and to reprieve and allow your body and mind to just recover from all of the grind that we have going on?
Yeah. Um, So that's why I told Adam Bird today that I wanted to just do podcasting. I don't want to write mortgages anymore. My wife can handle that stuff. Right. Because I do. I feel like there's a specific way that you have to feel before you talk about something so passionately over and over and over again. How are you delivering that message? So you have to feel good about yourself in order to do that. And that takes, it takes some time in the morning sometimes, right? I don't wake up every morning feeling great. My body aches, things hurt. Sometimes I'm just angry, and I have to fight through those things. So knowing that I have something specific coming up, just allowing me to prepare on a mental standpoint and rehearsing things in my head. Like you and I really didn't have a game plan today, so I was coming in from shooting from the hip, which I was a little worried about, but hopefully, if I stay true to what I am, I just believe that the Holy Spirit's going to talk through me and it's going to be just fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, when it comes to your show, first of all, tell us where to find your show, where we can listen to it, connect with it, to
Yeah,
subscribe.
I would say I made it really easy. Everything is faith, valor, growth, right? So if you go to faithvalorgrowth.com, you can find everything there, all the links to YouTube, iTunes. I think we're on Spotify. I do have somebody managing the hierarchy of all the social media now for the first time. I had a lot of people trying to help me, and that was confusing me because I did put the architecture of it together, making sure that everything rolled back to the same location. There wasn't, emails and stuff everywhere, and that I learned from the last time. I would have done it incorrectly this time. I think just having a centralized location so that it is an entity in itself. And that's
Yeah,
what it needs to be, right? You have to build it as it's its own entity. And I'm really excited to see how like some of these things play out as I meet individuals like yourself who are a little more versed in this game and are able on different platforms that I can learn from. But yeah, faithvalorgrowth.com. You can find us on Instagram, Faith Valor Growth. Try to make it as simple as possible. I felt like it was a cutting edge. Nobody's ever used this before, clearly.
yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you have given one call to action. Like just go there to find the
Yep.
whole movement. Because if you give us 10 different places to go, then we'll be overwhelmed and not take any action. And so that's a lesson for every content creator. Try to make your action steps clear
Yep.
and don't overwhelm your audience. So thank you for demonstrating that with your answer, Dominique.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if you were to inspire my audience with one final charge, if you had 1 minute to share something to someone on the edge of giving up, on the brink of throwing in the towel, they want to give up on their dreams, what would you tell them?
You can't do it. You just can't do it. Like you have to think about the ripple effect and what it had, like what it holds on people. And if you're at that point where you've done the math and you feel that this is what's best, then you've got to reach out to somebody. You got to ask because that's none of us want you to do that. None of us, especially veterans, right? Like if you're a veteran and you're suffering from that, I'm not trying to minimize anything else, but I mean, there's a lot of people that understand what you're going through. There's a lot of us that, like for me, I didn't tell anybody that I was in the service for 10 years after I got out. And if you talk to a lot of people during that time, only the close ones know that. But most people would have guessed that I was in the service. I don't know why. I just I didn't I felt disconnected. I was really struggling. So if you feel that way, you can call me, you can reach out to me on Faith Valor Growth, and we can talk about it right away. So it's up to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you, Dominique, for
Yeah.
sharing your story and your passion of helping others on the Leverage Your Influence podcast. And we look forward to seeing all the wonderful things that you have coming in the future. If you could share one goal that you could share that we could look forward to for you for the next 5, 10 years before you retire into the sunset from your podcasting and entrepreneurship, what should we look forward to from you in the future?
I think if it's a tangible goal, one of the ones that I've looked at is I would like to buy a office building, convert it over to housing, and have a bottom level full of services for veterans while they all live upstairs, right?
Oh,
So when they go downstairs, there's things to help them, whether it's get a haircut before they go on an interview, or uh, take the time to meet with somebody how to fill out a resume the correct way, or even the disability law group has an office there with a representative that can walk them through several different things or provide legal advice. there's so much of that that we don't get or understand because we're just so protected and sheltered while we're in, that if you had an easy way to make that transition, so even if it's just like a transition place for people that need it, like they don't have anywhere to go when they're getting out of the military, we could provide that. Because I want to get in front of, we don't really address the need for homelessness until it's too late, right?
Yeah.
They're bad spot, they're living on the streets. Most of the time people don't know. How do we fix that from the time that they eat? Yes, well, you clean up that process that educates them and shows them the benefits that they have in order to utilize them and to put themselves into a spot where they can give back to the community.
Powerful. And we look forward to seeing that come to life. That is
It will.
wonderful.
I
And
know
it
it will.
will truly make a difference in the lives of veterans. So we thank you, Dominic Licata, for sharing your story, your passion, your expertise on the Leverage Your Influence podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to the Faith, Valor, and Growth podcast. Please give a shout out to the website one more time.
FaithValorGrowth.com.
You heard it first here on Leverage Your Influence podcast. And thank you, Dominic, for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Yes, sir.